the physiology of your kidney works. Stress response. Yes, when you are chased by a bear, you can have two options. You can fight the bear, or you can fly. That means you can run away. Try to outrun the bear. In either case, you need cortisol, because when you're fighting the bear, you need more energy to fight the bear. Where the energy comes from? Glucose. That's why I told you that cortisol increases your blood glucose level. When you are trying to outrun the bear, you also need more glucose to make the energy, because running takes energy as well. That's why it's a fight or flight response. So the stress response will increase something. Increase the blood glucose level, I already told you that. It can also increase the blood pressure. When you increase blood pressure, why is it important? So that your tissue, let's say your muscle, they will get more nutrient or an oxygen supply. Increasing blood pressure is basically try to supply your, let's say, muscle with more oxygen and glucose, so that your muscle can contract stronger, contract and relax faster. Make it stronger contraction, so that you can outrun the bear, or you can defeat the bear if you are that good. During the stress response, you will also decrease something that is non-essential. For example, reproduction. When you are chased by the lion, you don't want to have an erection occur. Okay, basically that's what it means. When you are being chased by a bear or lion, you don't want to grow at that time. And when you are under stressful situation, you don't want to eat anything. So you want to divert all your blood supply to your muscle instead of going to your GI tract. It will also decrease the immune response. That's why someone who are chronically under stress, that means someone who are under stress for a long time, they usually get sick easily. And when you are stressful, it affects your mental function, your cognitive function, learning, memory, judgment. In other words, when you are trying to cram all the material the night before the exam, you are very nervous. Oh, I only have one night to study. You are very nervous. Then it will be difficult for you to memorize it. Yeah, so don't do that. Well, prolonged stress leads to different physiological changes. It is, as I told you, that it is difficult. It will be difficult for you to study the night before. We call it cramping, because the stress hormone affects your learning and memory. So don't do this. Try to study every day instead of keeping everything in the last minute. If you're at work, you are trying to meet the deadline. It is also very stressful. It will affect your judgment. At work, everything is asking you to do this, to that. All this can affect your job performance. So the production of the cortisol, as I told you that it is for fight or flight mode, stress hormone, increase the blood sugar level, increase the blood pressure, increase blood sugar level because you want to make more energy from the sugar. We'll talk about this later in the cellular respiration. Increase blood pressure, I already explained that, so that your body tissue, let's say your muscle, can receive more oxygen and glucose. Suppression immune responses and inhibit histamine. Oh, this is something new. Histamine, what's that? Histamine is histamine will cause inflammation. Inflammation, okay. Double M, okay. I'm using my mouse to write. It is not very good. Okay, inflammation, double M. Histamine is the one that causes inflammation or allergic reaction. So people who are under chronic stress, it is very easy for them to have allergic reaction. Allergic reaction is basically a form of inflammatory responses. If you are under stress for too long time, it will break down your protein. That means you'll lose your muscle mass. Why? Because your body under stress for so long, it needs energy to deal with the stress. So you will first use glucose. After you finish using all glucose, you will break down glycogen to become glucose by hydrolysis. Remember? So to increase your blood sugar level, after they finish using up all the sugar, glycogen, then they will break down body fat to convert fatty acid into pyruvate to produce energy. After they finish using all the body fat, what do? They'll break down your muscle. They'll convert the protein in the muscle into amino acid, and then from amino acid your liver can produce. You can use amino acid to produce energy. Reduce bone density. Well, this one I'm not so sure. Sorry about that. Skin problem. I told you that histamine. Remember, inflammatory reaction and allergic reaction. That's why it affects your skin. And diabetes, Alzheimer's. Well, these I'm not so sure, seriously. ACTH. Well, ACTH is a hormone secreted by your anterior pituitary, adrenocorticotropic hormone. Again, this pathway here, your hypothalamus secretes CRH, corticotropic releasing hormone, into anterior pituitary gland, and then anterior pituitary gland secrete ACTH. ACTH will bind to adrenal gland, telling adrenal gland to secrete cortisol. This pathway is something that I teach in physiology. Wow, I'm surprised that Dr. Mervovich will go into such a deep detail for Bio3. Bio3 shouldn't know that this, I would say, stress hormone pathways. The stress hormone pathway I cover in physiology, but not in Bio3. But I think it's good to know, so that you know that when you're under stress, what happened in your body. I may test you this one, because it is applicable to your daily life when we have stress. Artificial corticosteroid, okay. We call this PEAS, performance enhancing steroid. In order to grow hormone, to grow muscle, to increase the muscle mass. It is banned. Not only it has adverse side effect, but it is also unfair for competition. Adverse side effect is that for athletes, if they use this kind of a steroid for too long-term effect is that for male, it will make them to grow something called man's boobs. So men will start to develop a breast. I won't explain it here, but if you take my physiology, I will tell you the mechanism of this. So that's it for this lecture. It's a very long lecture.